June 1955. Marfa, Texas. A small desert town transformed into a Hollywood film set. Giant. The epic adaptation of Edna Ferber's novel is in production. The biggest film of the year, the biggest stars in the world. Rock Hudson, the leading man. Tall, handsome, charming. America's heartthrob. Elizabeth Taylor, 23 years old. The most beautiful woman in the world. Not an exaggeration, not publicity. Fact. Violet eyes, porcelain skin. A face so perfect it doesn't seem real. She's been a star since she was 12. National Velvet made her famous. Father of the Bride made her beloved. Now, at 23, she's at the peak of her beauty and power. Men worship her. Women envy her. She can have anyone she wants. And then there's James Dean, 24 years old, the newcomer, the rebel, fresh off East of Eden. Not yet a legend, but getting there. Intense, moody, difficult. Everything old Hollywood isn't. 3 stars, 1 film, 1 summer in the Texas desert, and a rejection that Elizabeth Taylor would remember for the rest of her life. Because in June 1955, Elizabeth Taylor, the most desired woman in the world, decided she wanted James Dean. She flirted, she pursued, she made it obvious. And James Dean said no, not politely, not diplomatically, just cold, distant, uninterested. For the first time in her life, Elizabeth Taylor was rejected, and she couldn't understand why. She asked friends, co-stars, "What's wrong with me? Why doesn't he want me?" The answer was simple and tragic. James Dean didn't want Elizabeth Taylor because he was in love with someone else. Someone he couldn't have. Someone who had married another man 8 months earlier. Pier Angeli. James Dean was in love with a ghost, with a memory, with a relationship that ended before it began. And no amount of beauty, not even Elizabeth Taylor's beauty, could compete with that. This is the story of the summer Elizabeth Taylor tried to seduce James Dean and failed. The story Hollywood whispered about but never told. The story of glamour meeting grief, desire meeting indifference. The world's most beautiful woman losing to a woman who wasn't even there. This is their story. Spring 1955. Before Giant March 1955. Elizabeth Taylor is married to Michael Wilding, British actor, older, sophisticated. But the marriage is already failing. Elizabeth is bored, restless. She's 23 and feels trapped. She's cast as Leslie Benedict in Giant. The role of a lifetime, a sprawling epic. 3 decades of a woman's life, from young bride to matriarch. Director George Stevens chose her specifically, saw something in those violet eyes, strength beneath the beauty. Her co-stars, Rock Hudson as her husband, and James Dean as Jet Rink, the ranch hand who becomes an oil tycoon. Elizabeth knows Rock. They're friends, easy chemistry, no complications. But James Dean? She's heard of him. Seen East of Eden in a private screening. Was impressed. Not by his looks. He's not conventionally handsome like Rock or her husband Michael. But by his intensity, his raw emotion, the way he doesn't act so much as exist on screen. She's curious, intrigued. This rebel from Indiana who's shaking up Hollywood. Meanwhile, James Dean is a mess. It's been 4 months since Pier Angeli married Vic Damone. November 24th, 1954. The wedding James watched from his motorcycle outside the church. The woman he loved marrying someone else because her mother forbade them from being together. He's tried to move on. Dated Ursula Andress briefly during the filming of Giant. But nothing sticks. He's haunted by Pier. Calls her late at night, drunk. They talk for hours about what could have been, about regret, then hang up. Nothing resolved. James Dean arrives in Texas for Giant filming broken. Grieving. Not interested in romance. Not interested in anything except work and speed. His Porsche, his racing, his reckless pursuit of anything that makes him feel alive. Into this walks Elizabeth Taylor. Married, beautiful, powerful, and very, very interested. June 1955. The Giant set, Marfa, Texas. The Giant set is massive. A replica of a Texas ranch. Heat, dust, endless desert. The cast and crew are staying in nearby hotels. Small town. Nothing to do except work and socialize. Elizabeth arrives with her husband Michael, but he's only there briefly before returning to Los Angeles. Work commitments, or maybe just disinterest. Their marriage is collapsing. Everyone knows. Rock Hudson and Elizabeth become closer. He's gay, closeted, of course. This is 1955. But they have genuine affection. Brother-sister dynamic. She confides in him. He protects her. And then there's James Dean, who keeps to himself, difficult on set, argues with George Stevens, questions everything, method acting, intense preparation. But brilliant when the camera rolls. Elizabeth watches him, fascinated. This is not like the men she's known, not polished, not charming, not trying to impress anyone, just raw, real, wounded. If you want more untold stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support means everything to us. She decides she wants to know him better. One evening, after filming, Elizabeth approaches James. He's sitting alone, reading. She sits down next to him, smiles. That smile that makes men stumble over words. "You're very good in your scenes," she says. James looks up. "Thanks. I'd love to rehearse with you sometime, our scenes together. We can do that. Polite, professional, but distant. No spark in his eyes. No recognition of who she is, what she represents. Elizabeth Taylor, the most beautiful woman in the world, sitting next to him, smiling, offering her time. And he's looking at her like she's just another co-worker. Elizabeth is confused, but intrigued. Men don't act this way around her. They stumble, stutter, stare, try too hard. But James Dean? He's indifferent. She tries again, over the next days, sits with him at meals, starts conversations, laughs at things he says, touches his arm, all the subtle signals, the ones that always work. Nothing. James is polite, answers her questions, but never initiates, never pursues, never shows interest. It's like she's invisible to him, or worse, visible but unimportant. Rock Hudson notices, pulls Elizabeth aside one day. "Liz, what are you doing?" "What do you mean?" "With Jimmy. You're flirting with him." "I am not." But she's blushing, caught. Rock laughs. "You are, and he's not interested." "Why not? What's wrong with me?" "Nothing's wrong with you. Something's wrong with him. He's hung up on someone." "Who?" "I don't know. But whoever she is, she's all he thinks about. Trust me, I've tried talking to him. He's not present, not really. He's somewhere else." Elizabeth should let it go. Should accept that James Dean is unavailable emotionally. Should focus on her marriage or her work or anything else. But Elizabeth Taylor is not used to being told no, is not used to men being indifferent. And James Dean's indifference only makes her want him more. July 1955. The pursuit. Elizabeth becomes more obvious, more direct. She invites James to her hotel room to run lines. He shows up. They rehearse, professional. Then he leaves. No lingering, no suggestion of anything more. She suggests they go for a drive, see the Texas landscape. He agrees. They drive. She tries to create intimacy, personal questions, stories about her life. He listens politely, answers briefly, but doesn't reciprocate, doesn't open up. The crew notices, whispers. Elizabeth Taylor is chasing James Dean. And he's not interested. It's unprecedented, shocking, amusing. Rock Hudson tells her to stop. "You're embarrassing yourself, Liz." "I don't care. He doesn't want you." "Why not?" "I told you, he's in love with someone else." "Who?" Rock shrugs. He won't say. But it's killing him. You can see it in his eyes. Whatever happened, whoever she is, he's not over it. And until he is, he's not going to see anyone else, including you. Elizabeth should listen, should stop. But she can't, because James Dean's rejection is intolerable. It doesn't make sense. She's Elizabeth Taylor. Men don't reject Elizabeth Taylor. One night, after a particularly long day of filming, Elizabeth invites James to dinner. Just the two of them, away from the set, away from the crew. He accepts. She's surprised, hopeful. They eat at a small restaurant in Marfa. Quiet, intimate. Elizabeth wears a beautiful dress, does her makeup. Looks stunning. She always looks stunning. But tonight, she's trying. James wears jeans, a t-shirt, barely combed his hair. He's not trying. At all. Over dinner, Elizabeth tries to connect, asks about his life, his childhood, his dreams. James answers, but briefly, then turns the conversation back to work. The film, the character. Elizabeth realizes he's treating this like a work dinner, not a date. He doesn't see this as romantic. He sees it as two co-workers having a meal. She tries to change the tone, leans forward, touches his hand. "Jimmy, can I ask you something personal?" He pulls his hand back, gently but deliberately. "Sure. Why don't you like me?" James looks genuinely confused. "I do like you. You're talented, professional. That's not what I mean." Silence. James understands now. He sighs. "Elizabeth, you're married." "Barely. Michael and I are... It's not working." "Still married." "And you're so moral?" "No, but I'm not interested." "In me specifically? Or in anyone?" James looks at her, really looks at her for the first time, and Elizabeth sees it. The pain, the grief, the emptiness. He's not indifferent to her because she's unattractive. He's indifferent because he's dead inside. "There was someone," James says quietly. "It didn't work out. I can't. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. It's not you. It's me. I know that sounds like a line, but it's true." "Who was she?" "Doesn't matter. It's over." "Is it? Or are you still in love with her?" James doesn't answer, just looks away, and Elizabeth understands. He's still in love, completely, devastatingly, with someone he can't have. "What happened?" Elizabeth asks. Her mother didn't approve. Religious reasons. She married someone else, someone appropriate. When? Last November. 8 months ago. And he's still broken, still mourning, still unable to move on. Elizabeth feels something she rarely feels. Sympathy. This beautiful, talented, intense young man is destroyed by love, by a woman who chose duty over desire. And nothing, not Elizabeth's beauty, not her interest, not even her willingness, can compete with that ghost. "I'm sorry," Elizabeth says. "Me too." They finish dinner, drive back to the hotel, park. Elizabeth turns to James. "If you ever want to talk about her, I'm here." "Thanks. But I don't talk about her." "Maybe you should." "Maybe. But not tonight." He gets out of the car, walks away. Elizabeth watches him go, realizes she's not going to win this. James Dean is not rejecting her because she's inadequate. He's rejecting everyone because his heart belongs to someone else. And that, somehow, makes it worse. August 1955. The ghost. Elizabeth stops pursuing James, accepts defeat. But she's curious now. Who is this woman? This ghost who haunts James Dean so completely? She asks around, quietly, doesn't want to gossip, just wants to understand. Rock Hudson knows, or finds out, tells Elizabeth one night. Her name is Pier Angeli, Italian actress. They were together last year. Her mother broke it up, Catholic. Pier married Vic Damone instead. Elizabeth knows Pier, not well, but knows of her, beautiful, delicate, innocent, the opposite of Elizabeth in many ways. He's still in love with her? Completely, calls her, late at night, drunk. They talk for hours. Then he's more depressed than before. That's torture. I know. But he can't stop. Elizabeth understands now. James Dean is in love with a ghost. Not because Pier is gone. She's alive, married in Los Angeles. But because the relationship is gone. The possibility is gone. And James can't let go. On set, Elizabeth watches James differently now. Not as a potential conquest, but as a fellow sufferer. She's trapped in a failing marriage. He's trapped in a lost love. Both of them miserable. Both of them unable to escape. Their scenes together in Giant are some of the best in the film, because there's real emotion underneath. Elizabeth plays Leslie as a woman trying to save a broken man, Jet Rink. And in a way, that's what she's doing in real life. Not romantically, but compassionately. James responds, opens up slightly, not about Pier, but about himself. His childhood, his mother's passing, his abandonment by his father, the loneliness that's defined his life. Elizabeth listens, understands. They become friends, not lovers, not even close, but friends. Two wounded people recognizing each other's pain. One night, Elizabeth asks, "Do you think you'll ever get over her?" "No." "That's sad, Jimmy. I know. You deserve to be happy." "Maybe. But happiness isn't for everyone. Some people are just built to suffer." "That's very dramatic." James smiles. "Rare. I'm a method actor. Drama is my job." Elizabeth laughs. It's the first time they've had a light moment. And she realizes this is as close as she'll get to James Dean. Friendship, understanding, but never romance, never passion, because his passion belongs to Pier Angeli, and always will. September 1955. The end. Filming wraps in early September. The cast returns to Los Angeles. Elizabeth back to her failing marriage. James back to his Porsche and his racing, and his late-night phone calls to Pierre. Elizabeth hears through the grapevine that James is planning to race in Salinas, September 30. She thinks about calling him, telling him to be careful, but she doesn't. They're not that close, and James doesn't listen to warnings anyway. September 30, 1955. Elizabeth is at home when she hears the news. James Dean is gone. Car crash, Route 466, age 24. She's devastated, not because she was in love with him. She wasn't. But because he was young and talented and tortured. And now he'll never have a chance to heal, to move on, to find happiness. She thinks about Pierre Angeli. Wonders if Pierre knows yet. Wonders how she'll react. The woman James loved, the woman who chose someone else, the woman whose rejection destroyed him. Elizabeth attends the funeral. Fairmount, Indiana. Sees Pierre there, wearing black, sunglasses, sobbing. Pierre's husband Vic Damone tries to comfort her. She pushes him away. Elizabeth understands. Pierre is grieving not just James's loss, but what they could have been, the life they could have had, the choice she made that she can never undo. After the funeral, Elizabeth approaches Pierre. "I'm sorry." Pierre looks at her, recognizes her. "You worked with him, on Giant." "Yes." Was he happy?" Elizabeth could lie, could say yes, but she doesn't. "No, he wasn't. He was still in love with you." Pierre's face crumbles. "Don't. Please." "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." "He told you about us?" "A little, not details, just that he loved someone and lost her and couldn't move on." Pierre closes her eyes. Tears stream down her face. "I loved him too. I still do. But I wasn't strong enough. My mother, I couldn't. I chose wrong." Elizabeth doesn't know what to say, so she just hugs Pierre. Two women who loved James Dean, and James Dean in different ways. One who pursued him and failed. One who had him and let him go. Both of them full of regret. Elizabeth Taylor lived another 56 years after James Dean passed. Married 8 times, became one of the greatest actresses of all time, won Oscars, became a legend. But she never forgot James Dean, or that summer in Texas, or the rejection that taught her something important. Beauty isn't enough. Desire isn't enough. Sometimes people are so broken by loss that nothing can reach them. In interviews over the years, Elizabeth occasionally mentioned James, always carefully, respectfully. In 1983, during an interview about Giant, she said, "Jimmy was in love with a ghost, someone he couldn't have, and it consumed him. I tried to. I wanted to help him. But you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." The interviewer asked, "Were you romantically interested in him?" Elizabeth smiled. "I was 23. He was brilliant and mysterious. Of course I was interested. But he wasn't interested in me or anyone. He was faithful to a memory, to a love that had ended. It was tragic and beautiful and completely futile. Did you resent him for rejecting you?" "No. How could I? He wasn't rejecting me personally. He was rejecting everyone. He'd built a wall around his heart, and the only person who could have broken through it was the person who put it there." Pierre Angeli, Do you think he ever got over her? No. He passed still in love with her. That's the saddest part. He was 24, his whole life ahead of him. But he couldn't see past what he'd lost. In another interview, years later, Elizabeth said, "I've been married 8 times. I know about love, about passion, about obsession. But I've never seen anyone as completely consumed by love as James Dean was. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't functional. But it was absolute. Total. He loved Pier Angeli with every cell of his body. And when he lost her, he lost himself." What if Elizabeth Taylor had won? What if James Dean had said yes? What if that dinner in Marfa had ended differently? Maybe they would have had an affair. Brief, passionate, doomed. Elizabeth was married. James was emotionally unavailable. It wouldn't have lasted. Or maybe Elizabeth's love could have healed him. Maybe her beauty and warmth and genuine affection could have broken through the grief. Maybe they could have built something real. But probably not. Because James Dean wasn't looking for healing, wasn't looking for a future. He was locked in the past. In November 1954, outside a church, watching the woman he loved marry someone else. Elizabeth Taylor understood this. Eventually. That's why she stopped pursuing, why she became his friend instead of his lover. Because she recognized something in James that she'd seen in herself. The inability to let go. The stubborn clinging to what's lost. The refusal to move forward. Elizabeth eventually learned to let go, to move on, to love again and again. 8 marriages, some successful, some disasters. But always moving forward. James Dean never got that chance. Frozen at 24, forever in love with Pier Angeli, forever grieving what could have been. The cruelest irony, Pier Angeli's life didn't get better. Her marriage to Vic Damone failed. They divorced in 1958. She remarried. That marriage failed too. She struggled with depression, with addiction, with regret. And in 1971, 16 years after James Dean passed, Pier Angeli ended her own life. Sleeping pills, age 39. In her hand, a photograph of James Dean. Elizabeth heard the news, thought about that summer in Texas, about James's obsession with Pier, about how love can destroy people. Not just the ones who lose it, but the ones who walk away from it. James Dean loved Pier Angeli so much it consumed him. And Pier loved James so much that losing him destroyed her. Just more slowly. Elizabeth survived, thrived, became a legend. But she never forgot the lesson James Dean taught her. You can't make someone love you. You can't compete with a ghost. And sometimes the most beautiful woman in the world isn't beautiful enough to heal a broken heart. There's a photograph from the Giant set. Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. Between takes. She's smiling at him, radiant, beautiful. He's looking away, distant, somewhere else. That photo captures their entire relationship. Her looking at him looking at something, someone she can't see. Elizabeth Taylor, the most desired woman in the world, and James Dean, the man who desired only one woman, a woman he couldn't have. 2 stars, 1 film, 1 summer in Texas, and a rejection that proved something Elizabeth never wanted to admit. Beauty isn't power. Love isn't logical. And sometimes the saddest story isn't the one that ends in tragedy. It's the one that never begins at all. This is the channel where we tell the untold stories of James Dean. The love he lost, the life he lived, the legend he became. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe. There are more hidden truths waiting to be uncovered, and you won't want to miss them.